He updated the House on the factors leading to the long hours of load shedding and the short and long-term measures that have been put in place to address the situation.
And of course, the acting Minister of Community Development and Social Services made a statement on the emergency cash transfer program and updated the House on the progress made in the implementation of the program in the 84 districts affected by drought.
After that, the House went on to consider questions for oral answer number 6 to 11 under Standing Order 80.
Thereafter, there was a resumption of a debate on the motion of 17th September, as we are aware that His Excellency President of Zambia, Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, on 13th September did officially open the 4th session of the 13th National Assembly, and members of Parliament have been debating that presidential speech, and we expect them to continue doing so, Matimba, today.
Yes, Joe, and also to make mention that this motion was moved by Kankoyo Member of Parliament, Mr. Hudson Mabeta, and it was seconded by one Member of Parliament, Mr. Joe Ochibuye. And there being no further debate, the debate on the motion stood adjourned, and so the House adjourned accordingly at 17-18 hours. And so this is business that was considered on the floor of the House yesterday, Wednesday, 18th September 2024. Just now, we shift our attention and we look at today's order paper. The House to consider two questions for oral answer under Standing Order 80, and question number 12 is expected to come from Masaiti Member of Parliament, Mr. Michael Katambo, and he's directing his question to the Minister of Infrastructure, Housing and Urban Development. He wants to find out a question in 6 parts: when the construction of Masaiti District Hospital in Masaiti District will be completed, what the cause of the delay in completing the project is, and who the contractor of the project is.
The Member of Parliament also wants to find out the total cost of the project, and in Part E, how much money had been paid by the contractor as of April 2024.
And so in brief, that's the business that is expected to be considered on the floor of the House. On your screen is Madam Speaker.
Honorable Members of Parliament, Madam Speaker.
And the sing of Zambia, proud and free, land of work and joy in unity. Freedom's power. Let us all happy people join as one, brothers under the sun, oh one, strong and free. One land and one nation is our cry, dignity and peace in Zambia's sky, like a noble eagle in its flight. Zambia, praise to thee, oh one, strong and free. Praise be to God, praise be, bless our great Zambia, Zambia. Remain we stand under the flag of our lives.
Almighty God, presence, treat and consider all matters that shall come under our deliberation in so just and faithful a manner as to promote your honor and glory, and to advance the peace, prosperity, and welfare of our country and of those whose interests you've committed to our charge. Amen.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for still being with us.
Honorable members, I have one announcement to make. Honorable members, I wish to recognize the presence in the public gallery of pupils and teachers from Munlo Secondary School in Lusaka District. On behalf of the National Assembly of Zambia, I warmly welcome our visitors in our midst. You may take your seat. Thank you. Agent matters without notice. The Honorable Member for Lundazi.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The matter I wish to raise is towards the Minister of Agriculture, but I can't see him here. Maybe Her Honor, the Vice President, can be able to take it up for him.
You may proceed.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. What is obtaining in my constituency is quite sad concerning the farming season. Madam Speaker, there is a pronouncement which is being made through the District Commissioner that the old cooperatives are not going to receive any farming inputs this year. The farmers are agitated, and there is need for the Minister of Agriculture to clarify this issue because the apprehension is too much and the people are irritated. Madam Speaker, I seek your guidance.
Thank you, Honorable Member for Lundazi. That is an important matter. I would advise you to come with an urgent question so that it can be attended to. Thank you. The Honorable Member for Chama North.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. My matter is directed to the Minister of Agriculture. Of course, he's not here. I can see the Vice President there. Madam Speaker,
Is it on the member who is on the floor? It's on who?
Are you asking this?
Yes. What is your point of order?
Madam Speaker, thank you so much. Madam Speaker, yesterday there was a member, in fact, the Honourable Member for Lundazi here, and the Honourable Member for Mambirima. These honourable colleagues lamented the failures of the UPND government. Madam, where you are there, it's practice. It's very well known. We come here to interact with the ministers so they can provide solutions for our people. Look, madam, one minister, one minister in the house, just because there's a by-election, madam. Do you expect that Zambians will get solutions for the problems they are going through with this conduct of this cabinet, madam? Okay, this is annoying. This is annoying, madam. One minister out of about 40 ministers in the house.
Only one.
I'm sorry, madam. You may have to make consideration, but my point of order is I honor the Vice President in order to sit alone there when she has ministers. Which ministers, madam, are earning from the Zambian people? I seek your serious ruling, madam.
The Honorable Member for Lunte, what standing order has been breached?
Standard practice and procedure.
Madam Speaker, you may recall that myself and a few others were expelled from this house on standard practice of receiving letters.
Yes.
I rise on standard practice, madam.
Yeah.
Honorable members, my ruling is that it's not only the honorable ministers who are supposed to be in this house. We are all supposed to be in this house, including the backbenchers, the ministers as well. Order, honorable members. Order. So what I was saying is that even backbenchers are supposed to be here, because I'm seeing some empty spaces, including the ministers as well. We are all supposed to be in this house. I'm going to liaise with the Deputy Chief Whip just to find out what is happening on both his members and the ministers as well. Similarly, even the PF Whip as well. May we know where the honorable members are. We are supposed to be here. Order, honorable members, this is a serious matter. We are all supposed to be in this house, unless if somebody applied for leave of absence from the house. So let's not blame only the ministers. I would urge even the honorable members together with the ministers to be in the house when they are required to be in the house from 14:30 hours. That is my ruling. All of us are supposed to be here. The ministers are supposed to be here, including the backbenchers are supposed to be here. So those that are out, those that are not around, they are out of order, especially if they didn't get any permission. That is my ruling. The honorable member for Chama North, you may continue.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. This matter is directed to our Honorable Vice President, since the Minister of Agriculture is not in the House. Madam Speaker, the agriculture sector is key to Zambia's economic development and also securing national food security. Madam Speaker, today is 19 September 2024. Farmers throughout the country, including in my constituency, Chama North, have not been paid for the maize supplied to the Food Reserve Agency. Meanwhile, the FRA has been running adverts in the radio and television that when you deliver your maize to FRA, is cash on delivery. But people delivered maize as early as July. For example, in Mbazi Ward, Kanyerere, which is a food basket of the district, up to this time, farmers have not been paid. So farmers are wondering that we are remaining with 1 month only, maybe very few weeks before the onset of the rain season. So how are farmers going to plan if at all FRA has not paid farmers, especially that the weather forecast say that this country is going to receive early rains. So that is the concern our farmers are crying, Madam Speaker. I thank you.
Thank you so much, Honorable Member for Chairman North. Again, this does not qualify under urgent matters without notice. Because under urgent matters without notice, it has to be something that happened, is it 24 hours before? But this is an incident which you said the farmers took their maize in July, others in August. So is it possible that you can justify it in a question so that you attended to? The last one, the Honorable Member for Chitambo.
Madam Speaker, I'm very grateful. This matter goes to Her Honor the Vice President. Madam Speaker, you might be aware that there are these programs that the government has come up with. The first one is social cash transfer, and the other one is it food for work or cash for work. Madam Speaker, all these monies are being given to the beneficiaries through their phones. Not only in Chitambo, but countrywide. Here in Lusaka, Madam Speaker, right now as I speak, we're having a challenge with internet connections, network from the telecommunication systems. Of course, this is due to the outages we are having as a country. Madam Speaker, surely this program is meant to alleviate poverty levels and the hunger situation, especially in rural areas. How does it feel one has worked, then they fail to get their money just because they can't access money through their phone because there is no network connection? Madam Speaker, this matter is very urgent because if people are not helped to find the other means of getting this money, some of them might go out there without food for so many days because they're using this money to buy maize as per the directive by Honor the Vice President. Madam Speaker, I want Her Honor the Vice President to guide the minister and the ministry which is responsible for these two matters. I know there is local government and community development, to help us find a way and means of giving this cash to the people either by directly in their hands or any other means which are possible. Madam Speaker, I need your guidance.
Okay, no. The Honorable Member for Chitambo. There was a ministerial statement by the Minister of Community Development. I think it was given by the Minister of Labor on behalf of the Minister of Community Development. She gave a ministerial statement on Tuesday, 17th September 2024. Apparently, there was no member that raised the question over the same. I had asked for points on clarification, but the feedback that I got that it was clear. So we cannot repeat the same ministerial statement that was given on Tuesday. Just find another way of maybe coming up with a specific question for that. But the minister cannot come back to issue the same ministerial statement. Thank you. We make progress. I have permitted the Honorable Minister of Health to present a ministerial statement. The Honorable Minister of Health.
Madam Speaker, first and foremost, I would like to express my gratitude for granting me this opportunity to address the nation through this August House on this issue of national importance relating to monkeypox and commonly known as Mpox. Madam Speaker, Mpox is a viral zoonotic disease which has declared as a disease of global public health concern by the African Center of Disease Prevention and Control and the World Health Organization. It is an infectious disease caused by the monkeypox virus with the following symptoms: a pain flush, enlarged lymph nodes, headache, sore throats, and fever. Most people fully recover, while some people get very sick and die. Madam Speaker, any person can get Mpox, which is spread through contact with an infected person by the following means: A, touching and kissing or sex; B, animals when hunting, skinning or cooking; C, animals such as contaminated sheets, clothes or needles; and D, pregnant persons who may pass the virus onto their unborn babies. Madam Speaker, while the first cases of Mpox disease were primarily reported in parts of Central Africa and West Africa, cases have now spread to other regions, thereby raising global alarms. Further, World Health Organization determined that the absence of Mpox in the Democratic Republic of Congo and a growing number of countries in Africa constitutes a public health emergency of international concern under the International Health Regulation 2005. A total number of 99,176 confirmed cases of Mpox have been reported globally between 1st January 2022 and 30th June 2024 by the World Health Assembly. The African region alone has reported 4,232 confirmed cases, with 35 associated deaths. The affected countries include the Democratic Republic of Congo, recording the highest number of cases so far, Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, South Africa, and Burundi. Madam Speaker, with the increase in Mpox cases being recorded in the neighboring countries, accompanied with the high cross-border trading and movements of people in this global village, Zambia stands at a very high risk of importing the disease. It is with such understanding and background that the government has scaled up efforts to prevent and prepare for a potential outbreak. Madam Speaker, this August House may wish to further note that the government, through Zambia National Public Health Institute, has taken proactive steps to ensure that the country is well prepared to prevent, detect, and respond to any potential Mpox cases. To this effect, the following measures have been put in place. Enhanced surveillance. Madam Speaker, government has strengthened disease surveillance systems across all provinces to ensure timely detection of any suspected Mpox cases. Our surveillance teams are actively monitoring border points, healthcare facilities, and other areas of concern to ensure early identification and containment of the disease. To date, 37 samples from suspected cases have been tested and all are negative for Mpox. Madam Speaker, in order to facilitate the identification of travelers with fever as one of the early symptoms of Mpox, government has procured and placed thermal scanners at the designated points of entry. Surveillance has also been heightened to screen all patients presenting with skin rash in order to rule out Mpox. Further, cross-border surveillance has been heightened to prevent the possible outbreak, noting the current risk in the region. Capacity building. Madam Speaker, in order to build capacity in health personnel in Mpox management, rapid response teams have been trained and equipped with clear case definitions for Mpox. To this effect, this Honorable House may wish to note that over 200 healthcare workers across the country have been trained in Mpox case management. Specific treatment protocols have been developed for Zambia to further aid health workers in the management of Mpox in an event of an outbreak. Madam Speaker, regarding equipment, you may wish to note that procurement of highly sensitive test kits and enhanced point-of-entry screening tools are underway. This will supplement what government already has in the terms of equipment. Number 3, laboratory capacity. Madam Speaker, this country's diagnostic and testing capacities are critical components in the management of any disease, including Mpox. Zambia has adequate diagnostic capabilities at the Zambia National Public Health Institute Reference Laboratory and University of Zambia Veterinary Laboratory. The laboratories have sufficient reagents for initial testing, making the country presently self-sufficient to screen samples for the disease within the country. Number 4, public awareness campaigns. Madam Speaker, public sensitization on the issue of Mpox cannot be overemphasized. Government has therefore launched nationwide public health campaigns to inform and educate public on the Mpox. The messages include the modes of transmission, symptoms, and preventative measures. You may further wish to note, Madam Speaker, that the platforms used for these sensitizations are not limited to physical platforms, but include online platforms and community mobilization through local leadership. In a resolve to see that no one is left out on receiving these important messages of public health importance, deliberate efforts are made to translate materials into local languages. This is especially targeted at reaching out to those who cannot communicate in other languages. Madam Speaker, some of the key community aspects in the prevention efforts include the following. 1, practicing good hygiene, including regular hand washing and the use of hand sanitizers. 2, reporting any symptoms such as fever, rash, or swollen lymph nodes to health authorities immediately. 3, staying informed of local health advisories and follow any instructions provided by the health officials. The public is thereby being advised to follow the outlined guidelines. Madam Speaker, Government has identified and prepared isolation and quarantine facilities in all major cities and border points. This is important to effectively manage infections and control the spread of disease in case of occurrence. The isolations and treatment units in all provinces are fully equipped to handle potential cases. Stockpiles of personal protective equipment are available at all prepared facilities for the safety of health personnel and other caregivers. Vaccination and treatment. Madam Speaker, while the Mpox vaccines are available on the global market, there is a global shortage of these vaccines. Priority, therefore, has been given to countries reporting confirmed cases. As such, we presently do not have any vaccines in Zambia. However, the team of experts in the Zambian Immunization Technical Advice Group are monitoring the situation closely, and we accordingly advise government on the status of vaccines on the global market for procurement purposes. Madam Speaker, in conclusion, I would like to state that government is committed to safeguarding the health of its citizens and visitors. As such, we wish to assure this August House that we shall continue to monitor the global and regional situations closely and implement necessary measures to protect the people of Zambia. The measures so far undertaken are comprehensive to ensure national preparedness and the capacity to respond rapidly to any potential Mpox cases. The state of the government's preparedness at this stage is also in line with international standards. Madam Speaker, I therefore call on honorable members to join the ministry in sensitizing their constituencies on Mpox, and I urge the public to remain vigilant, report any suspicious symptoms, and adhere to the guidelines provided by the Ministry of Health. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Honorable members are now free to ask questions on points of clarification on the ministerial statement presented by the Honorable Minister of Health. The Honorable Member for Wacha.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, and thank you so much, Minister, for the delivered ministerial statement. Honorable Madam Speaker, Minister, you indicated that so far Zambia hasn't got in place vaccines to respond to the Mpox if it was to strike Zambia and the population out there. In the case if Mpox, Madam Speaker, struck Zambia, has the government put in place or reserved any funds to procure the vaccine? And if funds have been set aside, Madam Speaker, how much has been set aside to procure the same vaccines if we are to be affected by Mpox? Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Health.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you, Honorable Mshanga, for the follow-up question. Indeed, we have said that we stand prepared. SADC had a meeting recently in which Zambia participated. They want countries also to mobilize their own resources than depending on the international resources. But at the moment, the vaccine, which is not in Zambia, but with amounts of money, are concentrated mostly on those countries which are affected. And for sure, an emergency is an emergency. If it happens, those resources can be found. At the moment, there are no resources yet. Most of these cases which are showing symptoms of Mpox, actually they are chicken pox. That's the way they have tested. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Member for Mukushi North.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Thank you, Minister, for the ministerial statement. In your ministerial statement, you stated that DRC is one among the countries that is actually pronounced where Mpox is concerned. And my concern is ourselves who are actually bordering with the DRCs. What measures is government putting in place in terms of screening those that are crossing into Zambia? I know into designated crossing points there are those screening facilities, but there are those constituencies like Mukushi North constituency where the border is porous. Anyone can actually walk through and come into Zambia. So what is it that we are doing as government, indeed as the ministry, to keep such vices which might come through those porous borders through our country? Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Health.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you, Honorable Member of Parliament from Mukushi North. In my statement, I've actually stated that we have upped surveillance teams. All provincial medical directors and their district officials have been informed, and we have also set up isolation places just in case. So we need also members of the Parliament to sensitize the people, and any sign that is indicating any Mpox signs should be reported immediately. We are at alert. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Member for Kabwata.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Honorable Minister, Mpox is actually caused by the monkeypox virus. Now we have, I think the reason why our colleagues in Congo are heavily affected is because of the consumption of monkeys, baboons, and the like. So I wanted to find out, in your ministerial statement, you did not touch on the consumption of game meat. We have some cultures that do participate also in the consumption of game meat, like also monkey and other animals. So I wanted to find out what measures have you put up in place such that the consumption of game meat and the sale of game meat in Zambia will not be affected, because this virus also is transmitted through the skinning of animals. Thank you.
The Honorable Minister of Health.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, once more. And thank you, Honorable Member of Parliament for Kabwata. In my statement, I indicated how Mpox can be spread. I talked about touching and kissing or sex. B, animals, that's where you are hinting. When you're hunting, skinning, and cooking, you have to be careful when you are dealing with the animals. That's why Kappa here has come up with One Health: animal, human being, and environment. Actually, it's warning you to stay away from these wild animals. Actually, they are cause of most of the diseases, especially some of my cousins where I come from. They like poaching. That you should stay away. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Member for Lundazi.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving a chance to the people of Lundazi to make a follow-up question to the Honorable Minister. With the drought that we have experienced, animals are the ones which are following us, and not us following the animals. From Lundazi, wild animals now, which are coming into our area. I would want to find out from you, Honorable Minister, to repeat the symptoms, what people must look out for this Mpox. Is it something that an ordinary mother can be able to detect? Is it about the temperature rising? What is it that an ordinary woman in my village can be able to pick out of your statement? I submit, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Minister of Health.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I talked about some symptoms that the monkeypox, or now called Mpox virus, will show some symptoms. A painful rash, one of them, enlarged lymph nodes, headache, sore throats, and fever. Those, when you start experiencing those, approach medical care attention so that they can analyze, they can diagnose whether it is Mpox or chickenpox. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Member from Babala.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker, and good afternoon. Honorable Minister, thank you for that statement. Recently, Zambia signed the African Medicines Authority, which is meant to, or the AMA, which is meant to help us access vaccines easily together as an African group of 55 countries plus. What is our Ministry of Health doing to access Mpox vaccines using the AMA route, where we bring our resources together as Africans and work together to save ourselves instead of waiting for the global West to come up with their drugs and deal with their situations? We want to deal with our situation here. Thank you.
The Honorable Minister of Health.
Thank you, Honorable Member of Parliament from Mbalala. It is the desire for this government, actually, to have all the vaccines available, including that one of even malaria. But you see, the resource envelope is so tight, and also to mitigate into these threats, it's becoming a challenge. We have got so many. We are just coming from COVID, cholera. All these need vaccines. But luckily, SADC had a meeting recently, and they are also coming up to see if there can be an institution set up within the SADC region so they can start manufacturing these vaccines. These vaccines are not to treat all the diseases, but actually to prevent. They are in various categories. But if it could be allowed in Zambia with the resource, we can have actually all the vaccines so that we mitigate the threats. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Member for Kanyama.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker, for this opportunity that you have given me to ask a question. Our Minister, indeed, when we heard or learned about the outbreak of this Mpox disease, there was anxiety among the people, and I want to thank your government for having contained the disease. However, I don't know, I just want to find out, maybe you mentioned it or you not. I want to know if at all, from the time of this outbreak, there were numbers of people that you know, that were recorded who suffered from the same. And I would want probably to find out how far we have reduced that number up to where we are. I submit.
The Honorable Minister of Health.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I mentioned that in my speech that there were now 37 suspected cases of Mpox. And when they were tested, they tested negative. So at the moment, Zambia, we are quite lucky. But the threat is quite imminent. You know the buses from South Africa, where it was reported they treated their patients. Congo nearby there. We should just be praying to God that it does not affect us. But otherwise, all those 37 have proved negative. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Member for Chitambo.
Madam Speaker, it appears we are overloading God with everything. Some of these things, Madam Speaker, we must be able to do them ourselves in order to prevent the occurrences. Madam Speaker, I have a national park called Kasanka, and they are wild animals. And it is at the heart of my constituency. And also my constituency shares borders with Congo. Minister, what are you still doing? What are you still waiting for? Or should I say, why do we want to be reactive and not being proactive? Why can't you start vaccinating our people in these areas, including in Lundazi, where we know that animals actually are interacting with our people, even in Shangombo? What are you still doing, Minister? What are you still waiting for? I thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Health.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. My colleague says we are overloading God, but we are children of God. I mean, yes, as much as we are creation of God. We said at the moment in Zambia we don't have the vaccine. And even where the vaccines are, as a region, the concentration is in those countries where there is an outbreak, such as DRC and such as South Africa. South Africa had proven cases, positive cases, but they managed to treat them. But we are not saying we have completely closed the door. We have mounted surveillance around all the area of the country. Our eyes are up, and we want our people, health people, in all these areas to be sensitive. That doesn't mean that when there's an outbreak, we shall not attend to it. It's our desired goal to have the vaccine, and we are putting measures in place that we can have the vaccines. Immediately we have the vaccines, why not? Of course, we have to vaccinate our people in areas that are threatening. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Is it a reaction to the feedback that has been given?
Not a reaction, Madam Speaker. But the rules of the House are being broken by the Minister, Madam Speaker.
What is your point of order?
Madam Speaker, the Minister, when answering this question, he's looking at me and pointing at me. I thought he was supposed to be addressing you, Madam Speaker. Through you, I should get my answer. Is he in order, Madam Speaker, to be threatening me with his hair, without beard? Madam Speaker, the people of Chitambo are now worried that I'm being threatened just for asking a question. I need your serious ruling, Madam Speaker.
I'm sure the Minister was just trying to emphasize, but of course the Minister knows that she's speaking through the chair. No need of looking behind or sides, you just have to look at the chair. We'll continue. The Honorable Member for Chipiri.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Honorable Minister, in your statement, you stated that you are ready. But when the question from Honorable Mushanga on the resources, you answered that there is no money. Now, how have you prepared? How prepared are you without money? Can you clarify so that it's clear to us? Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Money. The Honorable Minister of Health.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. To avoid looking at him through you, I did not say we have no money. I said we can treat an emergency as an emergency. Of course, when there is an emergency, there is an outbreak. We have to use any means to attend to emergency. And also we are looking at the global stockpiles, which are quite limited for Mpox vaccines. At the moment, they are not sufficient to spread everywhere. They are concentrating in those countries where they are testing positive. If in Zambia they tested positive, we can also draw from the same global stocks. I think that's what I can say, Madam Speaker, through you. Now I can even look at him.
The Honorable Member for Kasenengwa.
Madam Speaker, thank you for the opportunity to ask you this very important question. It may seem controversial, but very important. Through you, Madam Speaker, Honorable Minister, what advice do you have for our colleagues? I wouldn't want to mention names, but those from the north who are in the habit of eating monkeys. One of them is even seated next to you. What advice do you have for them, Honorable Minister? Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Please, let's not debate ourselves. The Honorable Minister of Health.
My honest advice is let's stay away from wild animals. It's one of those which spread the disease. And even those ones, your cousin near me, he has head. I think you stay away. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Member for Massa Central.
Madam Speaker, thank you very much. I'm compelled to begin my statement, my question, by clarifying that Mpox virus, Mpox disease is caused Mpox, and it's caused by monkeypox virus, not because monkeys are the main culprits or the main reservoir, only because it was first isolated in a monkey in Denmark years back. Otherwise, monkeypox virus is found in many non-human primates. And the main reservoir is actually rodents. And so to us, mind which fights you begin. Yeah. Now, secondly,
what is your question, Honorable Member?
Secondly, I want to ask the Minister of Health to give us more reassurance on the government's state of preparedness. We heard him lament the inadequate financing for the response. And my position is that there's no substitute to financing public health emergencies. So we would like to hear the Minister's reassurance. Is he able to tell us more about the lab cluster and if we're increasing financing and coordination from various institutions, like he spoke of the one health approach, the HR cluster, the logistics cluster. We want to hear more about how much resources are being allocated for vaccines, actually. And that we don't have it here yet, as picked by our surveillance, is inadequate because we have flights from South Africa every day. We have a very long border with the Congo. So we need to hear more reassurance in terms of financing, even for the research cluster. So could you reassure the country that there is adequate leadership and adequate financing for all these clusters that I've talked about? And allow me to just now advise too that reinstate Health Promotion Directorate, that you abolished or reduced to a unit so that we can increase public awareness on various public health issues. Madam Speaker, thank you.
The Honorable Minister of Health.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. First and foremost, let me appreciate the advice coming from the former Minister of Health, who is a medical doctor. Thank you very much for the advice. Zambia is not working in isolation. We are working as SADC. We are working also as CDC. All the resources are pooled. Where there is an emergency, we are looking to help whoever has been affected. And we have been urged also to look at our resources locally. I can't say how much because we can't estimate at the moment. But any emergency will be treated like emergency, another emergency that has happened. Before, we used to put one kwacha in the yellow book, just as a proviso to undertake any emergency that takes place. And we are saying the whole entire country, and through this ministerial statement, we are sensitizing the people, we are warning the people that they should be vigilant to this Mpox which is coming. That's not the only threat. We have had threats such as, not even threats, we have been attacked by COVID, cholera, and at the moment we are busy preparing for this cholera which reoccurs every now and then. There is always emergency government funds for all emergencies. All the time, the emergency funds, either locally or even as a team at static level or through CDC, can always to attend to it so that we are not threatened in that manner. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Member for Kankoyo.
Madam, I thank you very much. Madam Speaker, I wanted to find out from the Minister of Health, apart from a vaccine, is there any other means of treating this illness in case of an outbreak in our country? Because I believe the stock levels in our hospitals, Madam Speaker, have improved tremendously under the leadership of President Hakainde Hichilema. So I wouldn't want to worry, or my people to worry about an infection when we have over 93% availability of medicine in both hospitals and clinics. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Health.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you, Honorable Member of Parliament for Kankoyo. Other than vaccines, I put it across that our colleagues even in South Africa, those who tested positive, they have managed to treat them. Meaning, it is treatable. Even in Congo, apart from unfortunate cases of deaths, they are treating them. Even in Zambia, they can still be treated. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Member for Mitete.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I heard the Minister, among other ways and means, the disease is transmitted, is kissing. How prepared are we, through you, Minister, to sensitize more so? That's the question. How are we going to mitigate around it? Congo is just our neighbor, more so at the border. Minister, what message does that mean?
Madam Speaker, thank you very much. Through you, Honorable Mtete. The first point of sensitization starts from here. This is the whole entire country. We have to warn our people of this threat. And also, as a ministry, we have to devise a system of communication through radio communication, and I'm sure we can even go through social media. These threats have come through the symptoms which we are talking about. And also we are appealing to our people, all those who manifest with this kind of symptoms should be a warning, and we need to reach out. We are now upscaling the outreach services. And in fact, in this country, we need also to go the route of artificial intelligence, because this will help us actually to reach out and communicate effectively. We need to cover the whole entire country, but I think social media is doing its best for us to communicate, but we have to devise an effective system so that we can mitigate these threats. That's how far I can go, Madam Speaker. Thank you very much.
The last member, the Honorable Member for Solwezi East.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Minister, from your answers that you are giving, it shows as if this is a very fatal, infection or disease, causing people to be agitated, even thinking of preventing to, hunt and consume wildlife or game meat during traditional ceremonies and so on. But I do understand and I know that Mpox it's a rare disease. It's not fatal. So there is nothing to really alarm the nation, preparedness, this and that. So what assurance are you giving, especially those who still have what assurance do you have for the people? Thank you.
Through kissing, I forgot to mention, avoid it as survive. Traditional ceremonies, all and not all animals are affected. Just like beef, you have to take it to the experts to check it. Those are called what, health inspectors or environmental, to check. Because you might be unfortunate and eat one which is diseased and you carry it. So the best is, if it's one of those three, avoid it. Even at traditional ceremonies, Honorable Skumba, limit your licenses so that we don't spread the disease, the Mpox. But it is a treatable disease. But we have already heard that some of them resulted into deaths. So we have to be careful with the threat. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. We make progress. Questions for oral answer under Standing Order number 80. By prior arrangement, this question will be asked by the Honorable Member for Wacha. The Honorable Member for Wacha.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Question number 12.
The Minister of Infrastructure, Housing and Urban Development.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The Honorable Member, Honorable Katambo, is asking the Minister of Infrastructure, Housing and Urban Development the following questions. A, when the construction of Masaiti District Hospital in Masaiti District will be completed. B, what the cause of the delay in completing the project is. C, who the contractor for the project is. D, what the total cost of the project is. E, how much money has been paid to the contractor as of April 2024. And F, at what level of completion in percentage terms for the project as of the date at E above. That's April 2024. We answer as follows, Madam Speaker. At A, the construction of Mansa District Hospital in Masaiti will be completed in the second quarter of 2025. B, the delay in completing the project is due to funding constraints. C, the contractor for the project is Melt Cast Engineering Limited Corporation, Zambia. D, the total cost for the project is 11,182,061 kwacha 88 ngwe. E, as of April 2024, a total of 7,421,379 kwacha 21 ngwe was paid to the contractor. And F, the project has attained a level of 85% completion as at April 2024. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Supplementary questions? The Honorable Member for Bwacha.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker and Minister. Thank you very much for the responses that you have given to this question. I just want to find out, Honorable Minister, there has been a policy, a government policy of prioritizing completing government projects above 80–85%. I don't know, Honorable Minister, if that policy still applies. Especially in your response, you have indicated that the project in question has actually reached 85%, and you are talking about completing this project in the second quarter of next year. Is that policy still there, or maybe it has been put aside or shelved by the current administration? Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Infrastructure, Housing and Urban Development.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The policy is still there, but as you have noticed, this has reached 85% completion, and because of that, we are continuing with it, and that's why we are saying that by second quarter of the coming year, we will complete this, provided we make provision for it in the 2025 budget. But a bit more information to the people in Masaiti. The OPD, or Outpatient Department and Maternity Block, which were constructed in phase 1 and the 2 are operational and offering services. The construction of Masaiti District Hospital phase 3 in Masaiti District commenced in April 2015. 6 low-cost staff houses were completed. The pediatrics and the female wards were roofed, and the first fixed plumbing and electrical works were installed, as well as the water reticulation system. However, works stalled due to funding constraints. The scope of the remaining works includes the completion of the pediatric and the female wards, road works, and other associated external works. The remaining scope of works have been considered for completion in the 2025 budget. In terms of our submission for budgetary consideration, this has been included, and we hope that the Honorable Member for Bwacha will support us when it comes to this House. Thank you.
The Honorable Member for Mukushi South.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Honorable Minister, would you kindly share with us, if you are saying this contract is going to be completed in the second quarter of 2025, is it still within the contractual period, or you have renewed the contract, or the contract is cancelled? I thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Infrastructure, Housing and Urban Development.
Honorable Member from Kush South. This contract was given out in 2015 by the previous administration. So the fact that it's ongoing means there have been extensions to this particular contract. So it has been extended. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Member for Bwacha.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I want to give an assurance to the Honorable Minister that the budget line by your ministry, Ministry of Infrastructure and Urban Development, will be surely supported by Wacha, not only Wacha, but also by the people of Masaiti, the question we are asking on their behalf. Honorable Minister, the worry by the people of Masaiti parliamentary constituency, and especially where the piece of infrastructure is located, the pieces of infrastructure that you have mentioned, Minister, the worry is that there is already some vandalism taking place. What measures has your ministry put in place to safeguard the already completed infrastructure, as mentioned by your Honorable Minister? Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Infrastructure, Housing and Urban Development.
Honorable Member for Wacha, thank you for that assurance of support. As I've said in my answer, significant portions of this project are already operational. So there are people on site using, as I said, portions of this project. So far, we have not received the reports of vandalism on this particular project. Usually this occurs when the project is unoccupied or there are no people in the vicinity of that project. That is when people take advantage of that. But so far, we have not received indications of that from the people, also from the Honourable Member of Parliament, even through the question that he has asked. So we can only assume that there has been no vandalism. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Next question, again by prior arrangement. This question will be asked by the Honorable Member for Wacha. The Honorable Member for Wacha.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Question number 13.
The Honorable Minister of Health.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Honorable Alani Panda Chimwemwe wants to find out, A, how many cases of prescription error were recorded in the public and private health facilities countrywide in 2023. B, from the number above, how many cases caused the following: normal harm, moderate harm, severe harm, death, and death. In C, what measures are being taken to prevent such occurrences in health facilities? Madam Speaker, in A, our response is as follows. The House may wish to note that we do not have statistics on prescription of error recorded in the public and private health facilities countrywide. This is because the process used for prescription and dispensing in public and private health facilities provides for double checking to prevent prescription error. Prescription errors are usually spotted at the point of dispensing by the pharmacist. When a prescription error is noticed by the pharmacist, the prescriber is alerted immediately and the error is corrected by the medication is dispensed to the patient. Therefore, Part A and Part B of the question falls off. In C, Madam Speaker, it remains the commitment of the government through the Minister of Health to provide quality health care to all citizens. The following are some of the measures being taken to prevent prescription errors. 1. Pre-service and in-service training of prescribers and dispensers to ensure appropriate and rational prescribing and dispensing standards. 2. Establish facility-based medicines and therapeutics committees which address issues of medicine use. 3. Facilities hold monthly clinical meetings to share best practices with staff and build capacity to prescribe and dispense. 4. Technical supportive supervision to health facilities by specialists and clinical teams quarterly. 5. Conducting annual drug audit reviews on adherence to treatment guidelines. 6. Promoting rational use of drugs, which means requesting the right drug with the right strength for the right patient at the right dose with sufficient treatment period. 7. Encouraging prescribers to use generic names when prescribing medications. 8. Patient education on the right dosage and to report any adverse reactions. 9. Drug safety monitoring system, which was established in 2006, is in place along with National Pharmaceutical Vigilance Unit for medicines, safety monitoring and reporting at ZAMRA. This system addresses drug quality related issues that may arise during patient medicine use process. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Supplementary questions? It's clear? Okay. The clerk will now read the order of the day.
Thanks the President's address. Motion 17th September. Resumption of debate.
When the House adjourned yesterday, Wednesday, 18th September 2024, the House was considering the motion moved by the Honorable Member for Kankoyo that the thanks of this Assembly be recorded for the exposition of public policy contained in the President's address. Any further debate? The Honorable Member for Katombola.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, for according the people of Katombola constituency an opportunity to add their voice in endorsing the presidential address to this august House through the official opening of the fourth session of the 13th National Assembly held by His Excellency the President on the 13th day of September 2024. Madam Speaker, out of the speech, I will be picking out the component specifically that has to do with human rights and governance. I want to begin by extolling His Excellency the President and the New Dawn government for the milestones that have been made in attaining a democratic governance that we are today. Madam Speaker, where we are coming from, you may be aware that Zambia had degenerated in terms of human rights record, but currently democracy and the credentials of Zambia have gone up. Allow me to begin by addressing the subject of the rule of law, Madam Speaker. Zambia so far is presenting very high credentials on upholding the rule of law through the institutions of governance, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, His Excellency the President was on point when he indicated that this government will continue to uphold the rule of law and respect for human rights. And for this, the people of Katombola are so delighted. But in addressing this institution, allow me to address the subject matter of the law in the Republic of Zambia. Speaker, the President was right when he addressed the problems that the pieces of legislation have, particularly the Constitution. The current Constitution that we have in Zambia today, otherwise addressed as the Constitution of Zambia 1991, Amendment Act number 2 of 2016, is highly defective in most of the parts, and I will seek that I quote ipsis maveba the provisions in the Constitution that make the Constitution to have a number of lacunas, Madam Speaker. Allow me to indicate, Madam Speaker, that the provisions of Article 52 of the Constitution remains highly problematic to this country, and if not addressed if not amended, should we in future have a rogue president, that president will not hold elections for more than 10 years. And this is how it should be. This is how it is. I want to explain where the lacuna is, because it appears the Law Association of Zambia, where I belong, may have missed the point. The same with State Council John Sangwa. Madam Speaker, the provisions of Article 52 categorically states matters to do with holding of general elections in this republic. Now, when you look at the provisions of Article 52, sub-Article 6, which is highly problematic, Madam Speaker provides matter that has to do with a candidate who withdraws from a presidential elections. We are all aware, Madam Speaker, today that when Parliament is dissolved, the President of the Republic remains in office. Now, can you imagine a situation where 10 candidates have applied to become presidential candidates? And if he's a rogue president, he can just sponsor 4 candidates who will be withdrawing. And the president then will remain in office for 50 years, even for 10 years. So this provision in the Constitution is undesirable. This provision is undesirable, and it's not only the Article 52 that has serious lacunas, Madam Speaker. You will be aware that this government has been fighting corruption. Yes. Corruption has been a very serious cancer. It has been a very serious cancer to this country, Madam Speaker. But I want to state categorically from the position of the people of Katombora constituency that in the current form of the legislation, of the pieces of legislation in place, we cannot vigorously fight corruption. The reason is that most of the laws are highly defective. If you look at the Constitution itself, in its current form in Article 266 of the Constitution, you will discover that the definition of a public officer has not been well addressed. It's not been well addressed, meaning it excludes a number of public officers who are controlling officers, such as permanent secretaries. Can you imagine a situation where somebody is arrested by anti-corruption being a public officer, a permanent secretary, a judge? We had cases of judges who are set free because they are told that they are not public officers. Now, this is a very undesirable scenario, Madam Speaker, and from the people of Katombora constituency, we feel that the Constitution, being the grand law, the supreme law of this land, must be amended like yesterday. Because the definition of public officer in that particular provision of Article 266 excludes very important officials who are supposed to be subject matter of the Anti-Corruption Act number 3 of 2012, which also is a very defective piece of legislation, incapable of fighting corruption. For the following reasons, Madam Speaker. If somebody has to be investigated for corruption, such an investigator must seek authority from the Director General of the Anti-Corruption Commission. What if the Anti-Corruption Director General is himself or herself the person who should be investigated, or the allies of such Director General of the Anti-Corruption Commission? Authority then in that instance will not be given. And naturally, Madam Speaker, when you have such provisions which are based on an individual, you cannot effectively fight graft or corruption, because corruption has been eating this country up. You will recall, Madam Speaker, that Zambia as at 1964 was a middle-income country. Yeah. Today we are fighting to attain middle-income status as at 2030. Yeah. How can we be fighting to attain middle-income status, which we had in 1964? Yeah. Corruption has been the major reason, and from the perspective of the people of Katombora constituency, we submit that there must be strengthened laws against corruption. The current provisions in the Penal Code, under Section 1999 of the Penal Code, are unsatisfactory. 3 years imprisonment for a person who has stolen $10 million cannot be commensurate. We advocate for serious punitive measures against perpetrators of corruption. Yeah. Corruption must not be condoned in whichever fashion that it presents itself. Yeah. Corruption of yesterday, today, and tomorrow must be fought. And we extol His Excellency President when he says, when you are found in corruption or corrupt activities, you are on your own. And the people of Katombora are also saying, when you commit corruption, you are on your own. We we submit, Madam Speaker, we submit that the Anti-Corruption Commission Act number 3 of 2012 must be amended like yesterday. It does not espouse any provisions that can fight corruption. There is nothing that that act can do. You will recall, Madam Speaker, the case of the people versus Mutembo Nchito, where the Director of Public Prosecution gave himself a selfie because the law, he entered non proscribe in his own case, just to show how the pieces of legislation are so weak. Currently, to prosecute somebody for corruption, Madam Speaker, you need the authority, Madam Speaker, of the DPP. What if the corrupt one is the DPP? Can you imagine?
You can wind up, Honorable
Madam
Member.
Speaker, the people of Katombola want to thank His Excellency the President and his government for fighting corruption, for promoting the rule of law, and indeed, Madam Speaker, for amending a number of pieces of legislation, including the abolition of the law against defamation of the President, and in place, actually, the President decided to enact the access to information legislation. We extol the President and want to thank His Excellency and his government. We thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Chama North.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for according me this opportunity to say a few words on the speech was delivered by the President Hakainde Hichilema to Parliament last week on Friday. Madam Speaker, coming from a rural constituency whose economy is agriculture driven, I feel that this is a very, very important sector which I think we have not fully exploited to the benefit of our people. In the presidential speech, the President outlined measures to stimulate maize production in the country. One, increase in maize price, establishment of an agriculture credit window, and guarantee-ready markets. But, Madam Speaker, how do we increase maize production if at all the government is not paying much attention to the plight of the farmers? Today I said that a number of farmers throughout the country who supply the maize to the food reserve agents have not been paid. And meanwhile, we are remaining with only 1 month before the onset of the rain season. So I do not think that if we continue to pay farmers late, we are able to increase the food production in this country. The President talked about the establishment of agriculture credit window. Has it been a success story? Because I know that very few farmers actually access this particular credit window. I'll give, for example, the whole Chama district, only 88 farmers access the credit window. So we appeal to this government that I think they must do more to ensure that many farmers are able to access the credit window. Madam Speaker, it is very, very sad that we are importing maize from neighboring countries at a great cost. But at the same time, we are not paying these poor farmers who actually grow a lot of maize. The majority of the farmers who grow maize are small-scale farmers. Now, if you can't pay farmers, today is 19th September, how do you expect these farmers actually to plan adequately for the 2024-2025 farming season? So I think we need to do more. It's not just a matter of talking, but I think it is important that the government must put in radical measures to ensure that we grow the agriculture sector. Quickly, I go to energy. The energy sector continues to play a critical role in the Zambia's economic development. The energy sector drives the wheels of production, but it's unfortunate that this country has not invested for so many decades, more than 4 decades now. There has been no significant investments in the electricity subsector. Meanwhile, we are talking about increasing copper production to 3 million. Now, we have this crisis today of electricity, Madam Speaker, because this country has not invested heavily in this particular sector. We have a lot of potential For example, we have 2,300 potential in terms of solar power. We have 3,000 wind power, 6,000 potential hydro power. So, Madam Speaker, we feel that I think as a country it is important that we must invest in this particular sector. Listening to the presidential speech and including the ministerial statement which was issued yesterday by the Minister of Energy, I think I can't see immediate measures which this government is taking to resolve the current electricity challenges. Madam Speaker, currently we are talking about private investment because all the speeches, the minister and the presidential speech, were talking about private participation. Really, to me, I feel that this is a disaster in waiting if we are going to fold our hands and expect that the private sector are going to come and invest in the electricity sub-sector. How many years now? I mean, even under the MND government, there was the issue of private sector. So in my view, the government must continue to take a leading role in investing in electricity sub-sector. Otherwise, relying on the foreign investors, I can assure you that this is a disaster in waiting. It's totally unacceptable that the major investment in the hydro generation was in 1977 when Kenneth Kaunda commissioned the Kafue Upper power station. The other major investment was the Kafue Gorge, which was commissioned, I think, the first unit in July 2021. But from that time, this country has not really invested in the electricity sub-sector. So the current challenges, Madam Speaker, our people are in serious challenges. The people who are running businesses, barbershops, and also saloons, they are in very, very difficult situation. It's sad, Madam Speaker, that when we have got alternative sources of energy, our people are suffering. I'll give, for example, today Chama and Rundazi are going through a lot of serious load shedding, which has paralyzed economic activities in Chama and Rundazi. Meanwhile, we have got alternative source of power from Malawi. But that line was decommissioned. Even the genset which were in Chama were removed from Chama for no apparent reason, when currently we have got the challenges of electricity. So the people of Chama demand that those gensets which were removed from Chama must be taken back to Chama. The line to supplying power to Rundazi and Malawi was decommissioned. Currently, the power situation in Malawi has improved. So why are we not ensuring that we import electricity from Malawi? Because currently, Zambia is exporting about 10 megawatts of electricity to Malawi. But why are people suffering when there is an alternative sources of power? Madam Speaker, I feel that if we don't build interconnectors, today we have got this crisis because the Zambia-Tanzania-Kenya interconnector has not been constructed. Because if this particular investment infrastructure was constructed, I think this country was going to import power from Tanzania, and we are not going to have this challenge we are having today. So in the nutshell, Madam Speaker, I feel that folding our hands and waiting for the private sector, I can assure you that it is a disaster in waiting. The government must continue to play a leading role in developing different sources of energy. If you look at power utilities in Africa, most of them are state-controlled utilities. Today, if countries like Ethiopia is building one of the largest hydropower projects in the African continent, more than 6,000 megawatts. But here we are talking about 50 megawatts, 100 megawatts. So it is important that the government must invest in the electricity subsector. Thank you, Madam Speaker. With those few remarks, I submit. I thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Member from Kana.
Madam Speaker, the official opening of Parliament by the President is an important occasion for the nation because it spells the government's commitment to addressing the challenges that people are going through. The citizens of this country were glued to their televisions, to their radios, and to their Facebook, because now Parliament is on Facebook. Why they were glued is because they were expecting to listen to a voice of hope, to a message of hope from the President, that tomorrow it is going to be a good day. Madam Speaker, whoever wrote that speech for the President is an enemy of the Zambian people. Had we allowed the President to speak as a man we've known over the years, a man who has presented himself with solutions, that speech would have been completely different. Madam Speaker, where I come from, we say when an elephant dies, the story in the village is that elephant. The elephant in the room, in as far as this country is concerned today, is the energy crisis. If you look at this speech on page 10 and 11, the President speaks to the energy crisis. Sadly, the President laments over the challenge of drought as being the reason behind this challenge we have today. First of all, Madam Speaker, the fact today is that your people in the communities are in despair. Contrary to the statements given by so many government officials that we are having 21 hours of load shedding, there are communities that are going for 5 days without power. Madam Speaker, whereas others feel or think that electricity is only for lighting bulbs, for watching TV, and for stove or cookers, electricity is our lives, Madam Speaker. Because some people today have their lives dependent or depending on machines that are propelled by electricity. And you can imagine what that does. There was a report not long ago of people dying because the hospitals were not shaded. Electricity, Madam Speaker, means water. If you don't have electricity, it means that you will not be able to pump water. And you therefore know what it means if you don't have water. So you can now imagine for those communities that are having 5 days of load shedding, what that means. No power, no water, and therefore you know the anguish those people are in. Madam Speaker, contrary to assertions or to insinuations that the challenge of this energy crisis is on drought and climate change. Madam Speaker, this is not about drought and climate change. This is about leadership, Madam Speaker. If you ask the President today, back in the days, the man we knew did not want to allow excuses, particularly giving drought as an excuse. Because the countries, Madam Speaker, that does not have rains, yet they are sufficiently supplied with electricity. That is the case of Zambia today. Let's be very frank here. Zambia has got a capacity in as far as generation of power is concerned. We are standing at 3,700 megawatts, Madam Speaker. 3,700. Please protect me, Madam Speaker. Protect me, Madam Speaker.
Honorable member, you may continue, because I was attentively listening to you.
Thank you, Madam
Yes,
Speaker.
continue.
Just for the avoidance of doubt, for those who don't understand, Zambia stands at 3,700 megawatts capacity in terms of production of power, except that investment has been in hydro, 85%. The peak hours is only about 2,400. We have in excess, Madam Speaker, of 1,000, which we have been exporting over the years. So we have therefore to agree here that we have invested handsomely in power generation projects over the years. Except over the years, Madam Speaker, we've been greeted with a challenge of drought and climate change, which required us to have a mix, to now transit to having other sources of energy. That is where, Madam Speaker, we needed leadership. Because for the argument of doubt, Madam Speaker, to produce or to construct a solar power station, it only takes you between 7 to 10 months. The UPND government have been in power for 3 years. Today, we are only talking of a deficit of 1,300 megawatts. Do you know what would have happened if the UPND government, being a people that presented themselves as having solutions, 3 years down the line, Madam Speaker, they would have invested in alternative solar power plants, Madam Speaker. We would have had 1,300 megawatts as we speak today, Madam Speaker. The President, Madam Speaker.
Order, honorable members, order. We want as many people to debate.
Madam Speaker, look at her.
So can we give him chance to debate? You may continue.
Madam Speaker, just for the dunderheads who may not understand.
For the
dunderheads.
No, that's
Madam Speaker, we have a capacity to produce 3,700 megawatts.
Order. You've used unparliamentary language. The dunderheads.
I apologize, Madam Speaker, and I withdraw. Just for those who may not understand, because this is technical. There are people who are saying there was no investment in electricity generation. Madam Speaker, we are standing at 3,700 megawatts. We have 1,000 megawatts more than what we need. What we just needed, Madam Speaker, was to now transit to other sources. That is why I am saying, if we had leadership in the last 3 years, Madam Speaker, we would have...
The Honorable Member for Mwandi, you are becoming too loud. We'll give you a chance, Honorable Member for Mwandi, to debate. Thank you. The Honorable Member for Nkana.
Madam Speaker, the President missed an opportunity to give assurance to the Zambian people. What I would have expected is the President must have highlighted this problem. Number one, what is the extent of this problem? Starting with what we are dealing with in terms of the deficit and the interventions. The interventions should have spelled out short-term, medium-term, and long-term measures. The President missed that opportunity. I'm glad that the Minister yesterday came to give a statement. But this is where I have a problem. This Minister here, Madam Speaker, came to give a statement which stated this, that government has crowded back 290 megawatts from exports. Not long ago, Madam Speaker, the same Minister of Energy had intimated or mentioned to the country that because of bilateral issues, they are still exporting 250 megawatts. Madam Speaker, the question then remains...
The Honorable Member for Nkana, I've seen that you are moving away now from this presidential speech. You've now touched the Minister of Energy's ministerial statement yesterday. Can we be focused on the presidential speech?
Madam Speaker, page 10 and 11, the President speaks to the energy crisis. And I'm here saying, this energy crisis has got nothing to do with drought and climate change. It is leadership. Madam Speaker, this government has not been sincere in as far as export of power is concerned. This government has told us they are crowding back 290 megawatts. This government has told us they are still exporting 250 megawatts. The question that begs answers, how much of the power are they exporting? In the midst of a disaster, where people are going without food, without water, where institutions of health are being load-shedded, where companies are closing down every day. This government is selling 250 megawatts of power, Madam Speaker. The minister or government says they are importing 450 megawatts from the southern power pool, where there's no power. What this government could have done to address this problem, they could have continued the 330 megawatts transmission line, which has ended in Kasama, all the way to Tanzania. Because today, as we speak, the Eastern Africa power pool has more power than us going to beg the 450 from the Southern power pool. It is about leadership and nothing about climate change and nothing about drought. These people must own up and do what is right for the Zambian people. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Member for Rufwanyama.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving the people of Rufwanyama an opportunity to support the budget, to support the speech of the President. Madam Speaker, as Rufwanyama, we are elated for the speech of the President, and we appreciate for his speech, because it touched quite a number of things. and also it also directed what people should do during drought. We really thank the President because he showed, some of the things which we have to do during this drought. This drought which has come, it's not the first time, and it has come in 3 years of UPND being in government. This is El Nino which was there even 5 years ago. It's not the first time. So the President, during the address gave some measures. Which one? Yeah. He encouraged people to use, the solar power, which the government has done, and it has bought, it has imported quite a number of, solar panels, batteries, lithium batteries, which have come in the country. So this was you go in the shops, Madam Speaker, you are going to find a lot of solar panels which are in the shops. Madam Speaker, also the President talked about agriculture. On agriculture, Madam Speaker, the President encouraged us to do a lot of farming. Now we are talking about, he talked about 2.2 million hectares of land, which was, cultivated in the 2023-2024 season. It's unfortunately because of drought. Us from Rufanyama, we are farmers, and we support what the President, is saying. We are going to make sure that we grow maize, and at the same time, I want to praise the new Dawn government because the price of maize has been increased from 150, it's now around 330. And this is going to encourage people to grow more maize. And now farming is no longer just farming, it's business. Us, we can even export maize to Congo, which is very, very good. And the President, encouraged us. During the address also, the President mentioned about, farming not to be just one season. It has to be done throughout the year. The winter maize also, which, we have to grow. And also the Minister of Community, introduced the wetlands, where they are giving free fertilizer to the farmers, maybe 2 bags of maize, 2 bags of maize, 10 kgs, and also 4 bags of fertilizer, which is very, very important. So the President mentioned also the wetlands during the campaign, during the speech, which is very, very good. So also, the President, mentioned the mining sector. In the mining sector, we know it's something which is very, very important. Even in Nkana constituency, we have seen the mine being revamped. And at the moment, Kitwe will never be the same. Chingora will never be the same. Sector is coming up, and people are going to mentioned about the great there are a few mines which are operating. I just want to encourage, investors to come to Rufanyama and invest in these mines. They are quite very, very viable. Emerald is the most expensive stone, and you make money out of that. And I just want to also, to thank the companies which are operating in Rufanyama, and quite a number of people have been employed as the president encouraged, opening new mines. So we are going to make sure that we support the president. And when you look at, Rufanyama, it has got emeralds, it has got quartz, it has got copper. We are expecting, the green fields also to be opened in Rufanyama so that the people of Rufanyama can benefit. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you so much.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Bwengwa.
Madam Speaker, thank you very much. Yeah, Madam Speaker, let me also add a voice on the presidential speech on the theme, enhancing national resilience, sustaining socio-economic gains in the face of adverse effects of climate change. Madam Speaker, I think it is very, very important for the people of Zambia to know exactly what is happening. And let me also tell the Zambian people that the UPND government and their leader, Hakainde Hichilema, are very, very sympathetic with them because of the situation which we are in, and it's not a deliberate move, and it's God is making. You know, the drought which we had, Madam Speaker, last year, it has resulted into three key major issues which the Zambian people now are experiencing. Number one, because of the drought, we have not managed to harvest enough, and a number of districts, 84 districts here in this country, have been affected, and people did not even harvest enough for their families and for the national reserves. And also because of the drought which we experienced last year, Madam, and I think it is also the reason why the country is having a load shedding. The low levels of waters, because of the drought which we have, our rivers were not full, and including the Kariba Dam, the water levels have gone low. And in the history of this country, we've never experienced such a drought, Madam Speaker. And this is the reason also why we are unable to produce more electricity because of the low water levels in our dams or in our rivers. So people of Zambia must also understand, and we are very, very sympathetic with them. We are with them in this crisis. And even now at Parliament Motel, we are being load-shedded. It's not just the Zambian people. All of us were affected. But we heard from the President, Madam Speaker. The President has come up with a number of ideas that a number of countries, also, a number of organizations, a number of companies, are coming from China. They are coming here to invest in power generation. Something, Madam Speaker, the previous regime never thought about it. In 2019, we had also a partial drought, Madam Speaker, not as severe as the current drought which we experienced. But the previous regime had completely nothing, and they did not come up with new ideas on how to produce power, not just depending on water. There's nothing which they come about. The only thing, Madam Speaker, which we were told, we the Zambian people, by the previous regime in 2019, was that, please, you the Zambian people, if you want electricity, go to Kariba Dam and urinate so that you can make it full, so that we produce more electricity. You know, they insulted the Zambian people. That was a very big insult from the previous regime. But I believe, and all the Zambian people, because they know that they have a genuine government at the moment, and they have people who are leading them, who really feel for them, that we are not going to tell the Zambian people to go and urinate in the Kariba Dam, because we are sober leaders in this country. With them, and the solution is coming. I think the Zambian people heard from the Republican president that the solution is on the table, and very soon there will be no more load shedding. And right now, if you look at the water levels in our rivers, madam, in 2019, when we had the load shedding, we had load shedding even when our rivers were full. We had load shedding. But these people had no solution for the Zambian people. And Madam Speaker, also the Republican president talked about the government also providing affordable financing for mechanization and irrigation so that we can keep on having maize throughout the year. So this is what this government is doing, something which never happened in the last regime. And also this government, madam, we have recruited so many numbers, numbers of teachers and nurses, something which we never experienced in the recent history in this country. And this year alone, we are going to recruit 4,000, nurses again this year. This is the new dawn government. And you know, last year, Madam Speaker, a number of farmers had planted a lot of maize, and we had covered about 2.2 million hectares. Those are the hectares which were planted, in readiness for this season. Now, because of the situation which we found ourselves, not a very bad situation, it is because of, the God is making, we experience a drought. This is the reason why we are facing such huge challenges. And there are some people who think that you can store electricity power so that you can use at a particular moment. You can't store power. The moment, you have power, you cannot put it maybe in a shelf in a fridge, that when we have an excess power, we can use maybe the next year. So I heard a certain debater was saying that we had excess power. What did you do with that excess power? You exported that excess power. So what do you think, what did you want that power, where did you want it to go? Is to export. Where can we keep it? We can't keep it. We have to export that power. But this time around, the government is not exporting any power because of the crisis which we are in. We are not exporting anything right now because of the crisis which we are in today. And the Zambian people must listen from me that there is not even a single megawatt which is being exported at the moment because of the crisis which we are in today. And we believe and we want to assure the Zambian people that anytime soon, beginning in November going forward, there will be no more load shedding. And I don't know what these other people who had no clue how to manage this country, who are just busy, in corrupt activities, telling the Zambian people to go and urinate in Kariba Dam. As we are not going to do that, we are very sympathetic with you, and let us move together, and let's get more united than before. And we are not going to go back in the time of PF, where the country was divided into two in this country, and let us remain united so that we can drive this country forward. Madam Speaker, I thank you very much. And people of Zambia who are listening, from the voice of Wengwa, from the voice of UPND, that we are with you all the time up to 2026, when we are going to vote us back again so that we can rule you up to maybe around 2040 or beyond, so that we can manage this country together. Thank you very much, madam. Thank you.
Honorable members, just a reminder, you were given 5 days, and you are remaining with 2 days, 2 sitting days for you to debate. We don't want to have a lot of people coming up to debate on Tuesday next week. We still have today, tomorrow, and Tuesday. The Honorable Member for Zambezi East.
Madam Speaker, I sincerely thank you for the opportunity to debate the speech of the President of the Republic of Zambia, which was delivered on the floor of this House. Madam Speaker, at the outset, I'd like to refer you to the page that contains the theme of the speech, and this is on page 3. And if you've perused through this speech carefully, as I have, you will realize that at the outset of the President's speech, he actually did lament the fact that the negative effects of the severe drought caused by the El Nino weather conditions has adversely affected the standard of living of our people in the country, and the President stressed and actually empathized with all the citizens going by the situation in which we are. In short, we are in this together. If we are in this together, we must together find solutions of how we can mitigate the situation. And this is what characterized the President's speech. And therefore, he coined the theme as enhancing national resilience, sustaining socio-economic gains in the face of adverse effects of the climate change. What is of particular interest to me here is where he said sustaining socio-economic gains, meaning that we have actually made some socio-economic gains which we must, at all costs, even under these adverse effects, sustain. So how do we sustain them? One, there must be discipline from everyone and good governance. And this is how the President goes around explaining to the nation the policy direction which will actually be pronounced more when the Minister of Finance and National Planning comes to the House to finally give the policy direction in terms of how resources will now be allocated in responding to these challenging effects. Madam Speaker, the President actually informed us in that theme of the macroeconomic developments that we have achieved so far. Before this situation, we envisaged that the growth of the economy was going to hover around 4.7% of GDP. However, we came to the realization that with this situation, we cannot attain such macroeconomic indicators. And therefore, it was reduced to 2.3. And you saw how that a supplementary budget was brought to the House, which all of us here had sight of and we approved in order to address the situation. So we are all involved in this thing. So I'm wondering how members on the left-hand side are coming up with all sorts of statements to try and gain some lost popularity. Because these are realities. So we need to face this thing the way it is. And here are some of the details that I would like to itemize, Madam Speaker. The President cited the realignment of the 2024 budget, which is a reality to all of us here in this House. Nobody missed it. We were all involved in adjusting those figures. So these are realities. So these will inform even the coming budget. And you have seen all the mitigating effects that are being done where we have actually decided to feed the nation, literally feeding our people so that no one goes hungry. Other than those statements I'm hearing, no, the cost of living is now, there are these effects and you are well aware, even our people are well aware. And there are efforts being made here. Now, I'll itemize some of the efforts that are being made, especially in the agricultural sector. In the agricultural sector, of course, there are efforts that are being made to ensure productivity. Of course, we focus that the rain season might be much better than it was last year. And the President has put in all these measures, and you expect to see it when the Minister of Agriculture comes with the budget such that production of maize is still being encouraged so that we can be food secure. And this is what characterized the statement of the President. In the mining sector, Madam Speaker, the President went on itemizing the investment, huge investment that is going to come into this country. Unless you have deaf ears, you will not, you didn't listen to that, but of course not to be sarcastic to our colleagues who are challenged in terms of hearing. There is an interpreter here, of course, who is also explaining. And I'm sure they also understood that this is the situation. IRH investment in Popani of 1.1 billion. We should mention in these figures, even in those strongholds of you people who make a lot of noise. 1.1 billion being invested in Mopani. Look at how the members of parliament of Mfulira are so happy. Look at the MPs in Copperbelt and in Kitwe in particular are supposed to be happy. Although I've seen, Madam Speaker, some of them, just due to political reasons, come here and rant anything. But this is the situation. There is a lot of money that is being put in.
Honorable Member for Zambezi East, let's not debate ourselves. Let's refrain from that. You may continue.
Madam Speaker, I take your counsel and withdraw the word ranting. Vendetta is going to put in 1.2 billion into KCM, which was almost sunk. And my focus, Madam Speaker, will be so much on this mining sector because you see, there's a lot of interventions that are being put in here. And there are practical measures that we are already seeing working. Vendetta has not only pledged to put in 1.2 billion, the 250 million arrears for the contractors and suppliers of services, goods and services, has already been released. And it has already started showing effects on the copper belt. These are practical examples. Madam Speaker, China Non-Ferrous Metal Mining Corporation is pumping in 500 million to revive 28 shafts in Elisha. This has been a dormant mine for more than 20 years. A solution is being found now, and practically water is already being pumped. These are practicals. Many others investments are going on. Now, that will only take 21 months, and you look at how strategic we are. We are even giving you periods, and very methodical indeed. So all this investment, Madam Speaker, including the area survey that is going on to find more mining initiatives in green fields, which are ongoing, are measures to revamp our economy. Therefore, there is a lot of hope, Madam Speaker, in the new Dawn administration. So the doomsayers should say whatever they will say. We are on course, Madam Speaker. I thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Mbabala.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker, for giving the... You should be paying attention instead of just munguru munguru.
Order, Honorable Member for Mbabala, can you withdraw that word?
Madam Speaker, the Nkana Member of Parliament is exhibiting terrible manners in this House. Therefore, I withdraw the word, but he remains a directionless young man, who is a waste of time. Is a waste of time, Madam Speaker.
Yes, debate the presidential speech.
Thank you. Madam Speaker, I wish to thank His Excellency, President Hakainde Hichilema, for delivering a very wonderful speech Friday 13th, when he addressed this session, the fourth session of the 13th National Assembly, and commended its attaining of the 100 years of significant milestones as a parliament and the work we have done in the last 3 years. Madam Speaker, is selecting that His Excellency was able to deal with the issues at hand in the country such as the economic issues, energy issues, and related issues by focusing his theme on enhancing national resilience and sustaining socio-economic gains in the face of the adverse climate change. This is exactly in line with the economic gains we have made, GDP averaging 5.3% in the last 3 years, away from the negatives of the PF regime, which was voted out. And indeed, the continued growth, even under the adverse effects of climate change. Therefore, Madam Speaker, there was a very strong word of hope which came from His Excellency the President. He gave hope to the Zambian people in the way we are dealing with the economy by stabilizing the macroeconomic indicators and then now responding to the economic issues such as agriculture, which has attracted sustainable agriculture financing program, which has got both the agricultural credit window and the improved pricing, which my friend Honorable Siachisumo mentioned, the 330 kwacha per bag, which is encouraging to us, people from the rural areas, because we're able now to get a good price. The fighting of animal diseases in the country is an important milestone, especially also the production of local vaccines in the country. Already 880,400 vaccines produced in the country. This is the development we were lacking in the last 10 years or more, Madam Speaker, and we're happy that we are able to do that now. The mining, we're no longer taking mining as a cash cow, Madam Speaker. Instead now we are mining to make our tonnage higher towards the 3 million tons. And so we are very happy that we are no longer mining in court, but managing the process, including the delivery on the National Geographical Survey, Madam Speaker, which is a very important tool for all of us to know what lies beneath our land in Mbabara and many other areas that are going to help us to stop the illegal mining, but actually mine with an understanding of what we are doing. The energy crisis, Madam Speaker, we are happy that through His Excellency we now have net metering for other alternatives and many other measures that are being put for us to be able to have alternative energy. We will just encourage ZESCO to be more welcoming and also publish the requirements for people who want to go into private initiatives on producing energy. And whilst the net metering might need to be supported, because a lot of us have put solar, so we need to be supported just to be able to put those gadgets that help us to sell the excess to ZESCO. I'm also happy to see that His Excellency also looked at manufacturing, especially it's exciting to hear that new legislation is coming to look at supporting local manufacturing. This is a very good campaign, which I think one of our colleagues in the country is talking about BuyZ and is recruiting more and more. And His Excellency supports this concept. And we want to see more of our local manufacturing and also buying local. The medium and small enterprises, the issue of preferential procurement through our local companies is very, very important and needs to continue to be enhanced in our procurement guidelines to allow our local contractors, such as Mbabara contractors, to be helped to do the jobs. We also call for the increased funding to citizen economic empowerment so that it continues to empower our people so that they become more and more of employers and they can look after their families and the like. Madam Speaker, I'm also happy to see that infrastructure is recorded a lot of scores. We've seen the various kilometers which were mentioned in the speech, which have been done under PPPs.
Honorable Member, as the time is 16:40 hours, I suspend business for 20 minutes.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for still being with us on Parliament Television. Business of the House has been suspended for a 20-minute health break, and so we expect business of the House to resume at 17 hours. And the House is considering thanks the President's address, a motion of 17th September 2024, that the thanks of this Assembly be recorded for the exposition of public policy contained in the President's address. This was a motion that was moved by Kankoyo, Member of Parliament, Mr. Hudson Mabeta, and it was seconded by Ron, Member of Parliament, Mr. Jobo Ochuwe. And at the time business was being suspended, on the floor of the House was Mbawala, Member of Parliament, Mr. Joseph Musanje, debating this motion. And so when business resumes at 17 hours, we expect him to continue with his debate.
And of course, business did resume at 14:30 hours, and Madam First Deputy Speaker did make one announcement in which she did recognize the presence in the public gallery of pupils and teachers from Muniro Secondary School in Lusaka district. And on behalf of the National Assembly, Madam Speaker did welcome the visitors to the National Assembly. Thereafter, Madam Speaker did permit the Minister of Health to render a ministerial statement on the country's preparedness to prevent the outbreak of Mpox, and will be able to give you the details in regards to that ministerial statement. So far, the House has considered 2 persons for oral answer. Standing order 10. These are questions of ordinary nature. Right now, we take a break and we'll be right back after 20 minutes. Continue to listen to Parliament Radio, the station dedicated to bring Parliament closer to you. Good afternoon.
Shedding anymore. Liveltech is here to save the day. Imagine this. You're in the middle of an important task and boom, power cut. Frustrating, right? Well, not anymore. Introducing Liveltech, your go-to for advanced energy storage solutions. With Liveltech, you can store electricity and use it whenever you need it. Homes, schools, businesses, Liveltech powers them all. Our commitment to quality is unmatched, backed by a 10-year warranty. Picture this: happy families, productive businesses, and uninterrupted power supply. That's the Liveltech promise. So, why worry about power cuts? Choose Liveltech and embrace a future of energy independence. Contact us today to learn more. Liveltech, your trusted solar experts.
Okay, my name is Chipoka Mlenga. I'm Member of Parliament for Chingola constituency under the United Party for National Development. I am currently working as Minister of Commerce, Trade and Industry. President Hakainde Hichilema was gracious enough to give me the opportunity to serve the Zambian people as Minister in Commerce, Trade and Industry. And under his leadership and mentorship, I am learning quite a lot of things to serve the Zambian people to the best of my ability within the given time and the given resources. I have been married for the past 16 years to a young lady that I met at university, at the Commonwealth University, Likonge Makai. She is an electrical engineer. She's been a very, very good source of encouragement to myself in many, many other spheres and aspects of life. Together, God has blessed us with twins, a boy and a girl, and they are 14 years old. And I am born from Mr. and Mrs. Mlenga. My father is Aston Chilfe Mlenga, my mother is Monica Mlenga, and from 7 children, I'm the 5th, 2 girls and 5 boys, of which I'm the 5th one. Before joining politics, I worked in my private life. When I just graduated from university, I joined the local government, Mufulira Municipal Council, where I worked as a management trainee, or should I say an intern, for some time, barely 3-4 months, before I joined Konkola Copper Mines from 2006 until 2021, when I left the mining industry. And I worked in the mining industry, serving many different portfolios, until such a time when my affiliation into politics, you know how the past government was quite oppressive and very vengeful in many different ways to people that were perceived to be against them. And indeed, I spoke so much loudly against the tyranny rule of the past government, the injustices that we saw, the uneven distribution of wealth among the general public, among many other things. So deliberately, after being incited by some non-members of parliament then, 12 of them, I was declared redundant. Graciously, gladly I left, I walked away in 2021, and I will be very clear and glad that through my media engagements on radio and TV, President Hakainde Hichilema identified me. And then I was given a chance to contest the seat under the UPND because I was coming in from the alliance to work together, and that is a decision I have never regretted. Well, my constituency is a very cosmopolitan constituency in terms of creed, ethnicity and religion. You know, it has got rural communities, it has got peri-urban, and it has got urban communities. It is the biggest in population constituency on the Copper Belt. It has got a registered number of almost 100,000 people. This is in the 90,000s, almost 100,000 registered number of voters, and I'm very optimistic that in the coming elections it will be even more. So this is an election that you really have to pay particular attention to the needs of the people, because the needs that are in a certain ward are different from the needs in a different one. So you have to pay particular attention to the needs of each constituent ward and give development based on their customized needs. And it has been made easy to provide this development by the enhanced CDF by the President that he has given us, which is being released on a timely basis. I can assure you that I've got 18 wards in my constituency, and in these wards, the needs in Chingola Central are different from the needs in Ipafu, Mudenda, Chabanyama and other places. So others are asking for boreholes to get decent water facilities. Others are asking for market as trading places, and we are giving them. Others are asking for crossing points in terms of bridges. Others are asking for road networks. But within the resources we have and the time frame we have, we are able now to provide these facilities. Obviously, as resources are coming on board within the given year that we are doing, but definitely we are reaching out. So it's an amazing one. And one thing that I can tell you about my constituency, it has got more of women and youth. So our youths are very dynamic in their needs. So this is something that, as a member of parliament, it's not also just as easy as it may be perceived, because the needs of the youth are different and they change given time that evolves as every day passes. So I also have to pay particular attention to their needs and see how we don't leave them behind. In the past, youths could just be called cadres, but I'm very happy that we cadres now are not just seen as cadres. Because of the enhanced CDF and how the financing system has come in this country, we the cadres are part of the value chain in development. We are given opportunities not only to line the streets and wait for members of parliament to give us kwachas and coins. We are beginning to